Hey, I'm Dave, and you're listening to another episode of Dying to Listen, presented by the Disc Golf Dyers Guild. Today, we have Braden from BscriBBles Dyes. I apologize if I can't get that right. It's a tongue twister for me, but welcome, and I greatly appreciate you being on here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, so we are going to learn some cool and awesome stuff, and join us for the ride, but we'll jump right in. So, I'm assuming you play disc golf, correct?
A lot of it.
When did you get started in disc golf?
I don't even know. It was a long, long time ago. So I'm not one of the COVID people, although I feel like I am one of the COVID people because I never took it super serious until about 2 years ago. But I grew up next to one of our local courses. I keep hearing that it's like the 6th busiest course in the country. But we only have like 4 or 5 in the valley here. So I believe it. It's busy all the time. So I grew up by there. So I saw it here and there. I went to, summer clubs, like summer sports camps and whatnot. We'd go to the park because we were just up the street. And so I had started disc golfing at a young age. I don't really know when, but I didn't really start taking it really serious and like following the pros and whatnot until, I don't know, early last year.
So where are you located, and have you lived in the same place your entire life?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Salt Lake, in the Salt Lake Valley. I'm currently in a city called Sandy, Utah now, but it's about middle of the valley.
What's the closest course to you? Like, how far away is it?
The closest course is a new one they actually put in at the beginning of 21 that Grip 6 actually put in. I don't know if you've listened to Trash Panda and Jomez podcast at all, but they had the Grip 6 guy on and he talked about it a little bit, but it's probably about 15 minutes from me. It's a little 9-hole course in an old Midvale City Park that's been there for 100 years or so. Yeah, that's the closest one. Big bummer though, they took the baskets out for the winter this winter, and
Really?
they're telling everybody that it's a seasonal activity. When I played a dozen or more rounds there last year through the winter, so that's kind of a big bummer.
I mean, here we play all year round. Some courses do pull their baskets mainly because they don't want to ruin the grass and whatever. But that's fascinating. Huh.
That's the reason. That's one of the reasons they gave for this one. But I'm like, come on. We only have, other than this, now there's only like 3 legitimate courses in the valley. We have one on the university that's kind of weird, but kind of cool. And there's like a couple other, I don't know, semi-private ones or whatnot. But that's about it.
What's the next closest course to you?
Probably about another 10 minutes away, about 20, 25 minutes away. And that's the busiest one. Like I can get to all of them within 30 minutes as long as it's not like rush hour traffic. So they're not too far from me, but there's not a whole lot of selection.
Yeah, but I feel like the courses seem to be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean I like them. They're the Creekside, which is the one that is the busiest, it's fairly wooded. It's not like a classic wooded course like you would be used to at all. The trees are small. They're not well kept. It's a lot of Twizzlers. Like it's a lot of iron branches and leaves. But it's a fun, like kind of tight old course. It's been there forever.
So you've been playing for a while. What does disc golf mean to you?
It's just fun to get out with friends, without friends, clear your mind, throw some discs, get mad. I mean, I get mad every round. I'm not good, so like I don't know why I keep punishing myself, but I do.
Yeah,
so
I have the same thoughts. I'm like, why do I play this? Why is this fun? But I keep coming back. What got you into disc dyeing?
I don't even really know. I just saw it on Instagram really, and was like, hey, I kind of want to try this. Let's jump in.
Where did you start learning and getting some of your information from?
Also, I have no idea. When I like, as I remember it, when I was looking, it was very hard to find. I mean, and obviously you probably vouch for it too. Over the last year or two, there's been a wealth of knowledge that's now coming out all the time, and so it was kind of hard to find things. And the first thing I found was like shaving cream, and it was mix up shaving cream and dye, not like the mound style. I wish it would have been the mound style because I had a couple like decent dyes at first, but the first few were pretty spotty.
Do you remember the year you started dyeing?
Yeah, last year, just the beginning last year.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, I've looked at your work, and that's pretty impressive for...
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, keep up the great work. Do you remember the first dye that you did? If so, what did you do?
I do. I actually have it here. I should have prepared and dug it out of this box of discs next to me, but I guess I can grab that. Here, let me grab it. This was actually one my wife did the same time. This little Mako. All my other ones kind of look like this. I did a... I don't even remember what it was. One of them was a star turn, and the bed looked cool. I thought it was going to be nice. I put the disc in, but it was all uneven because I was mixing my dye with shaving cream, and it just kind of gave me like kind of crappy spots. You couldn't even see what the design was, and that was the second or so one that I dyed, and they weren't that great.
What did you do to make them great?
I don't even know. I started looking on YouTube, and I saw I think his channel Sarge's Happy Disc Dyes or something like that. I believe his name's Sean. He's not that active on Instagram, however, but he inspired me big time. Like, his dyes were so cool. They're that glue. He blows the dye around. I try to do those. I kind of always fall back to that glue bed, and when I'm stuck, when I've got a block, I'm like, let's just go back to some glue beds and blow some dye around and just have some randomness.
What techniques have you tried?
I've tried some type of shaving cream, not the mound. I really want to try the mound style. I've got my turntable, so I just haven't gotten around to it. Glue and Floetrol cells, and I've done lotion. When I was first starting, lotion was kind of the first. I did a lot of lotion to begin with, and just had nothing but air bubble problems, and I had it too thick and too gloopy, and I never really hammered it down. And I've got a ton of like empty bottles back here. Those are my lotion bottles just waiting to be mixed up. I haven't gotten around to mix that up yet.
Yeah, I've never had much success with lotion, so I'm like, I give up.
Yeah, and I always put it on a lotion bed. I've tried like one little experiment with a glue lotion on a glue bed, kind of like that Dyes by Red does, but that time it didn't work out very well. So I haven't gone back to it. I need to try it some more.
So when I say I gave up on lotion, I gave up on lotion beds. I couldn't get the right consistency, and I kept getting bubbles and not very defined lines, but I do use lotion to add color, like on top of a disc for spot coloring. Yeah,
I've done lotion painting too. I was in the Trash Panda contest. I don't know, you did that really cool. Was it the map disc?
Yes.
Yeah, that was awesome. And then they didn't pick me for the final round because I was one of like 6 that did Captain America, and mine was the least dyed. So it's kind of a bummer, but I mean, I should have realized that Captain America would have been a hot dye.
Yeah, no, I was just scrolling through your feed. I was like, did you enter the Trash Panda? I'm pretty sure you did. Nice. Yep. Do you think you have a signature style at all, or are you just still trying to explore?
No, I don't think I have a signature style. I don't think I'm that creative enough to find something that someone hasn't done and mastered yet. I just kind of want to keep plugging along. I really like the Floetrol cells. I watched the podcast with Lil Bot Dyes, and that was awesome. Like, I had tried that because I had seen a video of it like on an acrylic pouring or something before, and I was like, I don't know how they do this. And then finally, when he explained it, I got a few good discs out of there. So that's a fun style to do. I like just kind of like pure chaos, like random flip cups with the Floetrol and some cells. I've had some really good luck with that. I've also had some really bad luck with that, where it's just kind of browned out and been terrible. But I've had some really, really good cells before, but I haven't been able to like pinpoint anything that works. I also am really bad at like remembering what I've done in the past, and I take absolutely zero notes. So I'm like, I'm learning every time. Every time I'm using like a color I haven't used for a while, I have no idea how it's going to turn out, and then I forget about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, this one doesn't work this way, or this one didn't come out like it shows blue, not purple, like so.
Do you have a favorite technique that you do like to do?
Probably the glue. I mean, I would like to be really good at some cells and stuff, but I think the glue's just easier, a little easier to manipulate as far as just blowing the dye around. And I just like it. I just like the glue.
A few questions for the glue bed stuff. One, what container do you use to house the bed?
One of two or three. I have several like frisbees. I've got three of them that are kind of a smaller. They're actually the perfect size for a Berg. And then I've got two that are bigger. Like, you know, you've seen like the big kind of big frisbees. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. And then I have a whole, I don't even know, stack like 8 or so 9-inch cake pans. And the cake pans will fit pretty much anything besides like a Berg or big mids, and or sometimes some big putters. But just kind of use those. Although with the dyes, the chameleon style, I did get some of those like little drip pans or whatever they are, and I used some of those. But I need to pick some more up. Maybe something a little more permanent, so I can just peel the old Floetrol out and use it again.
I use press and seal for my cake pans when I do the glue beds, so I can just easily pluck it out. Mm-hmm. But I need to really try to reuse some glue. Do you reuse your glue at all?
I have. I don't all the time. I do. I've got 2 gallons that are about full over there. One of them's like a rough purple, and one of them's kind of a rough bluish, greenish. And if I am doing something that I know is going to have those colors, sometimes I'll use that dye that again. But I don't always reuse glue. No.
Gotcha. What glue do you like to use?
It's just Elmer's school clear glue.
Yes, I could take a guess because I could see it in the background.
Yeah, there's some there. Or that, I mean, when I couldn't find that at Walmart a couple times, I bought like the Amazon clear glue. But one of the two, that's just what it's work. And they seem to be a little different. The differences I can't explain, but they're just slightly different consistencies or whatnot. And maybe that's just in my mind.
What dye and mixture do you use that you put on the clear glue beds?
Acetone, just Pro Chemical and dye powder. I've got some iodide polys, but I haven't mixed those up. I've just mixed black up. But I have, I don't know, a red, a purple, a green, or a blue, I think. And I haven't tried them yet, but I just haven't gotten around to mixing them up. I need something to put them in because they're in those little like bricks. So I need little containers before I can open those up and put them in something. But
yeah, I feel like I'm getting drugs with that little shrunk wrap of dye, and you got to be real careful when you open it up and they go poof.
Yeah.
And speaking of containers, what containers do you use to house that acetone and dye mixture?
Just some little, like, I don't know, like the bottles that the spike gets in, or the worm dip comes in. I have like little 2-ounce bottles I got off Amazon. I thought they'd be a little bit bigger, and they're quite small, but they actually fit perfect. So they work perfect. They fit in. I was using glass droppers, but it evaporates. It dries out of those. And then I'm like, wait, I thought I just had a whole bunch of dye in here. I hadn't used it for 3 weeks, and now it's half gone. So, and then they clog up the things. So now I just use the disposable pipettes, the little plastic ones. And
yeah, I literally in the same situation. I mixed a bunch of dye in those glass jars with the built-in eyedroppers like 4 months ago, and I don't dye a whole lot, and I come back, I'm like, where the hell did it go?
It's all gone.
So yeah, I got those HPDE bottles, or not Nalgene.
Yeah, I was gonna say Nalgene, but I didn't know if that was correct or not. But
I probably said it wrong. But yeah, I'm gonna try those because I got a bunch of those. Because you just refill it with acetone, but it's still annoying. For your glue beds, what do you do with them? Like, how do you manipulate them, and with what? Mainly,
I'll just drop my acetone dye mixture on top, kind of let it evaporate, or I'll blow it off, or if there's still some, I'll burn some of it off with the torch and let it burn a little bit. But put it on top, and then I just mainly blow it around with that big straw that's right there, and blow it around a little bit. Sometimes I'll do that agate style that Daddy Mac Dyes showed. and I'll play around with that. I'll pull that with a toothpick. Like after I get it all agated out, and I won't add extras like off center. I'll just keep that like it from the center out, and I'll pull it in some designs sometimes, and I've had some cool results.
You have those plastic pipettes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would try cutting off the top of the bulb a little bit on the bottom and using that to blow. I literally just did that yesterday, and I was like, wow, this is really easy, and it blows just the right amount of air.
Cool. I've got the big ones and the little ones, so I'll try both.
Yeah, I was like, before I was using a larger syringe, and it was working, but I was running out of breath pretty fast.
Yeah, this little straw works nice, but I definitely I was like, oh, I need some long tube so that I can blow it towards me, and then it just didn't blow. I was like, this is worthless, so I just grabbed this straw out of the drawer.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting some longer straw too, just to kind of manipulate that, but I put my bed on a Lazy Susan, so I can just spin it around. I got this plastic one for $10 or something on Walmart. So
that's what I need to find, one of those, because that'll be nice.
Yeah, it helps because then you're not going all over the place.
Sliding it nonstop on the it's smoother.
So with your experience with your glue bed so far, is there anything that you've learned or any tips or tricks that helped you along the way?
I try to pour my glue out as fluidly as possible to avoid air bubbles. I try to pull my air, the torch works, but people swear by the torch, and I just don't have that experience. It'll work to get bubbles out, but it doesn't work to get all of them out, because if they're a little too deep, it'll just cook the glue. So I'll use toothpicks to pull some bubbles out. If there's a lot of them, I'll sit for a while. If there's a lot, I just say whatever, to hell with it. I'll deal with whatever shows up. But basically just I pour it out smooth, try and get try and avoid as many adding additional bubbles as possible, and then I just kind of measure with the toothpick how deep it is, and give a rough eyeball of the top of the disc and its parting line, and kind of see oh yeah, that's about as deep as I need, and I'll throw a disc in.
How long do you let the disc sit, and do you use any heat?
Sometimes. You can see the heat lamp. I don't have it on with the two discs that are in there now, but with glue, I don't normally. Sometimes if I'm sitting here doing a bunch, I'll turn the lamp on and throw one under there for 30 or 40 minutes while I do another one, and then rotate them out so they get a little bit of a blast of heat. I'm sure it helps a bit. I haven't, like you said, I haven't taken enough notes or figured out the science enough to claim anything of surety. For Floetrol, I'll use heat. I was using it on lotion beds way back, but they'd get super runny, so I was wondering if that was good or bad, if it would dye enough, or if it was causing me to kind of blow out. So with lotion, it might not be that great, but I think with glue it's fine. And with the Floetrol, I think it's kind of needed to get the deeper colors quicker and not have your cells blow out or whatnot.
How long do you let your disc sit then on the clear glue bed?
About 24 hours. Sometimes I'll let it sit for 8 to 12, and results are pretty close to 24 hours, honestly. But I usually let them sit a day, just for good measure.
Is that across the board for all types of plastic, or do you let some sit longer or shorter than others, Star or Champion?
No, Champion I definitely would let sit longer. I've never really had that great of luck with Champion plastics, and kind of the same with Lucid. Even though Lucid's I feel like a little better at pulling in the dye than Champion. With Floetrol, I don't get good enough saturation on Lucid plastic. So with the Lucids, I just try and keep those in glue beds, because I can let them sit a little longer. But I also just don't really dye Champion plastic from Innova. I just kind of leave it alone because I haven't had that great of results. But I love Castoplast. K1 Soft are great. The Soft, I know, blows out and fades way quicker. It's just kind of the name of the game, but it looks real good when you pull it out of the bed.
So you kind of answered this question, but what is your favorite plastic to dye?
Probably Castoplast, although lately, and not even lately, but throughout the last year or so, every RPM disc that I've dyed with their atomic plastic has come out and looked great. So I'm really high on the RPM atomic plastic, as well as the Prodigy 500, because the shimmer is so nice.
what got you into the RPM plastic? I don't think I've ever held or dyed one.
I don't know. I've always liked things that aren't as popular as other things. So, I mean, Castaplast kind of drew me in right off the bat because it was one I had never really heard of, but it was also that like it had the kind of that cult following. And then when I was looking for discs on Infinite here and there, I'd search by what was white. I wouldn't search by what I wanted or anything in particular. I just narrowed my search down to like white and premium plastic, and looked through what they had and bought what I thought might work. And I've referenced the differences doing it, like his big list that he has on there of all the plastics. I just look at that and oh yeah, this one will work. It says it'll work. I'll buy it. Which the Viking ground plastic he has in there is like green will dye. It's a base plastic. It won't. I bought two discs of it because they were like $8. I was like, hell yeah, these are cheap. They'll dye. Put one in a glue bed for a day and like nothing stuck. The ground plastic. I found at least one error on that sheet.
So I took that sheet and I rebuilt it in Google Sheets and I updated it.
Oh, nice.
I will have to make sure that is updated on my sheet.
The ground. I think it was the ground from Viking.
Okay. I will double check that. And since you're a hipster and like unknown discs, have you ever heard of Premier Discs?
Maybe.
They have their alpha plastic. So they're a really small company based out of South Dakota. But I got a bunch of their discs and dyed it, and it takes dye extremely well.
Okay.
The plastic reminds me of Castaplast K1. Like I said, takes dye really well, and I dyed it probably 2 months ago, and I really haven't noticed it fading a lot. Nice. And I have some thin stencil black lines, and those usually fade the fastest, and so far it's holding up. So if you want some, I got some for sale on the Dyers Guild website.
Premier?
Yes, Premier Discs.
Cool. I'll check them out, man.
Yes. What dye do you use?
Pro Chemical and dye mainly. I've got some iodide poly. I use that for hot dips, and my black that I use in glue beds is just the iodide poly black because I was using Onyx for a while, but the Onyx it's not dark enough. And then I thought I had read something about like Dark Dungeon having ingredients that are unsafe, so I was like, I'll just stay away from Dark Dungeon.
I never heard that.
I don't know where I read it. It was somewhere in like a deep cavern on Reddit, I believe. But
interesting. I'm going to be doing a test of the blacks to see what blacks are the best blacks. So very curious because I just bought all the blacks from ProChem, and I have my iDye Poly Black. So
far, iDye has been the best for me, the iDye Poly Black.
What are your favorite colors?
For the Pro Chemical and dye, the Caribbean's great. I love Caribbean. I love the neon pink, cerise pink. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And the lemon zest. Most of the neons are great. The lime's great. I haven't had good luck with the neon purple. It never comes out purple. Glue bed, it's a light blue, almost Caribbean like. Every time I do it, and I forget that it's that color because I don't use it often, and I get one done and I'm like, this isn't purple. But
I'm trying to think if I put that in the glue bed before. I don't know. I feel like it has.
And I think the neon orange in the glue bed may have gone like kind of pink on me at one time. So, or I haven't really used those. I even have, this is a disc I dyed of my own that's a thrower. And it had, what's not shown was a color. I can't remember what it was. It might have been the neon purple. And like, I think this is lilac, and this is I don't know, the blue from the starter. Yeah. And then whatever the neon royal purple didn't show on that disc.
Interesting. I know I had issues. I can't remember the exact purple. It was either orchard or lilac. It did not take. It was like, it's gone. I'm like, really? Interesting.
Yeah, I've had Caribbean not take several times too. But I still like the Caribbean a lot.
So, for your Floetrol beds, how do you do those, if you want to explain that a little bit?
Well, those are the bottles there, and I just mix up the dye and Floetrol. Also, no science. I just kind of wing it. I've got a little half teaspoon or teaspoon measuring stick, and I'll throw in a couple heaping piles of that into the bottle, put some warm water in there, and try and get it as dissolved as possible, and then shake the hell out of it, fill it with some Floetrol, and go to town.
I think I saw a dye that looked like a pour cup. Did you do something like that?
I have a split cup, like a 3-color split cup, and I like to use that sometimes. I was doing a style kind of like this for a long time. I did several for some friends, and I did 3 or 4 for my own bag. And I would use the split cup, but I just pour it. I wouldn't swirl it to get like the different, separations of colors, and I just pour it like right in the middle and let it just mix itself up, and it would do cool things. And I just used 3. I'd use pink, yellow, and Caribbean, and let it just kind of mix however it mixed.
A few questions for your Floetrol stuff. How long do you let your discs set for those beds, and do you use heat?
Heat, yes. Time, I don't know why, but I'm stuck on 2 hours, and I'm not getting as good of results as I want. But my inability to wait won't let me leave the disc for longer. I'm like, oh, I got to pull it. It's done. 2 hours. It's good. Yeah. And I'll cycle the heat on and off to try and keep it, I don't know, around 105 degrees or so. I see a lot of people saying 110, 115 is fine, but I remember reading, like, when I was starting, that 115 wasn't fine. So I don't know. I don't think anybody knows what the truth is, and people are just kind of guessing.
That's another test that I have to do, is what heat is best heat?
Yeah. So I use them. I leave them about 2 hours. I need to start leaving them a little bit longer. Maybe I'll do 2 hours of heat and another hour of just kind of set time, and I need to experiment with time, but for the most part, it's about 2 hours on a Floetrol bed, and I call it good.
Do you have any other tips or tricks that you've learned from doing the Floetrol beds?
Just stay away from colors that brown out. I try to stay in the same. If I'm doing blues, or blues or green, I'll try to stay like blues or greens, or blues and purples, or reds and purples, or something like that. I'll try and stay pretty similar. I've had a couple. I had a Clash popcorn that when I pulled it, I thought was gonna, like, the bed looked amazing, and I pulled it, and half of it was great, but the other half of it was brown, and it was terrible. So that disc never sold. I actually just sold it to an old boss of mine, and now he has it. But it sat for about a year, and it faded big time. So I was like, oh well.
Have you done stencils before? I
have done stencils. I did. The first stencil I did was for the Trash Panda
Really?
Earth Day contest or whatever. Yeah, and that was the first go. And actually, your video helped me greatly to like center it and whatnot. I reference that video all the time still. After I take a break, I'm like, how do I center this again? How do I get the little dot? What size do I need the circles? So I'll go back and pull that video up and check it out several times.
That's awesome. If I can help at least one person, it's worth it.
Hey, I'm sure that video's helped several more than just me, but I do reference it quite often.
Do you have a vinyl cutting machine?
I do. I bought a Cricut for that contest. I was like, well, this is good enough excuse for me to buy one, so I bought a Cricut. Still getting used to it. I've been trying to. There's a disc that a Rico, I don't know how to pronounce it, that I dyed and a spot right in the middle didn't take, and I used the magic eraser. Like I always feel like I get it enough, but sometimes you just don't. So that's one thing about Casterplast that does kind of suck is the inconsistency of that release material. Sometimes you can't get it off the disc, and it'll just ruin a good one. But it's got a hole, and I wanted to do like a spot, and it's like a 1 inch, kind of almost a 2-inch circle, and I wanted to put a stencil in there, and my first idea didn't work. The stencil's too small, so I can't get it cut small enough. I need to revise plans, but I'm gonna work on that.
That reminds me of when I saw a few dyers, I think, had the Berg bubble, but they put something cool in the bubble.
Mm-hmm. I've seen like a banana in the bubble, but yeah. So that's why I was like, oh, this sucks, but I can make this cool. I can make this real cool again with what I'll put in there. I just need to, or maybe I need to clean up the stencil, which is another thing. I'm graphic design absolute novice. Like I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. So I need to figure out how to. At least
you're doing it and you're trying. So that's a great step.
Yep.
Because I know it can be overwhelming.
Extremely.
this new machine, you don't know how to operate it, but I say just dive in and see what happens, really. What's the worst? You can't really blow up the machine.
You just go through a lot of vinyl.
I mean, vinyl's relatively cheap.
Yeah, it's not bad, but I've wasted quite a bit.
Well, that's how you learn. Learning is expensive.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have a must-have dye accessory?
I mean, I think everything I use is pretty much standard with what most everybody else's dyeing discs is using. I wish I had a better turntable. I've just got one of those like little briefcase open up ones. I don't think the table itself is centered. So whatever dye jig I put on there is still kind of wavy.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, I have one of those briefcase ones. It's not great. It does the job.
Yeah.
Is there better? Yes, but whatever.
Yeah, it definitely works, and I'll do some spins. Like if I pull a disc out and it didn't quite get an edge, that's a spin candidate. If it just sometimes it feel right. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll put a little spin on this one, call it good. But I don't spin a lot.
Spin dyeing, covering up our mistakes. Fantastic.
I might actually do that with the putter too. If I might try and like kind of off center it a little bit because it's not quite centered, and maybe just do a little spin in the middle and call it good.
Mm-hmm. Have you used my Dave spin dye jig rig?
I did. I bought one from you. I don't know, a couple months ago, and I've used it a couple times. It's way better than the one that I think I found a one on Thingiverse and had it. I sent it to my library to have them 3D print it, and it worked fine. But it was like a 2-piece round one that had like I don't know, steps kind of that you could like set the disc on, and it worked. But I feel like I can center them better with yours than that one. So nice.
Well, I was going to send you another one. If you want one, I can send you another one.
No, I've got one. Go ahead and save that one.
All right. Well, I'm glad you like it. And if you do have any feedback, good or bad, just let me know, because I'm always looking to improve the damn thing. In your mind, what is the hardest part about dyeing, and what's the easiest part?
It could be the same. Letting them sit. Like I have the hardest time letting them sit, but also like, why? Just leave them there. It's not that hard. Letting them sit. I mean, that answer might be kind of a cop out, but the hardest is sometimes picking the right colors. Honestly, like I'm not. I've always loved art. I've never pursued any other type of art until now. But like, I don't know how colors work, right? As far as like people, by the book. I just kind of figure it out myself. Like one of these discs I just did now has red, purple, and lime green. So I'm hoping it turned out okay, because they could not.
A basic understanding of the color wheels and what colors make brown is probably a good starting point, which I feel like you've got a good handle on so far. And if you don't, well, then you learn.
Yeah.
Do you like to keep an inventory of dye discs, or do you dye on demand type stuff?
I have an inventory, and I like to keep an inventory because I don't necessarily like to keep it. I like to list it, so I don't like keep anything that I don't have up for sale on my Etsy or on my discdyeing.com. But I do have some discs, and excuse me, like it sucks. After a year, I've had, I don't know, about 20 or so that never sold, and they start to fade. So that has made me kind of want to revisit it. Maybe like, hey, I don't really want to have a lot of stuff on hand because I don't want to be stuck with it and then have dyes that fade, and then then you're like, well, this doesn't look like it used to. I can't sell this like that anymore. But yeah, I think it's kind of unavoidable the way I want to sell, because commissions are fun, but they're also extremely stressful, and I don't care for it personally. But I know some people really work well off commissions.
And speaking of commissions, have you had any interesting, weird, or unique ones?
Nothing too crazy. I've got a gentleman that's talking to me now about a disc. It's another RPM disc. I don't know the name of this one. I googled the bird that it's named after, and it's like a white, a lot of white, a little bit of black, and a little bit of like this kind of orange. And he said, "Hey, this is the disc. I want you to do the colors of the bird and just do whatever you want." So I don't know what the hell I'm going to do on that one. I haven't got his disc yet. He had to track one down. He said he's bought one, but he'll send it to me hopefully in the next week or so. But that's kind of the weirdest. I just finished one up. The guy wanted the Black Sabbath, like kind of devil angel, or not angel, like whatever the angel, like Black Sabbath logo on there. He wanted that stenciled, and then kind of like a halo effect around the outside. So I did that with a glue bed, and that's about it. I haven't done a ton of commissions.
Do you like to keep the stamp or wipe the stamp?
I like to keep them. I like to keep them, although they don't always stay. Like sometimes they're fragile, and I also haven't quite learned what to do in certain situations with different brands or whatnot. I feel like Thought Space stamps are pretty fragile. Every time I've tried to glue mask a stamp, it has pulled the stamp off. I cannot get it. I've used regular white Elmer's glue. I've used 2 different types of wood glue. It does not work for me. And so I'm extremely, like, I have a bunch of 631 vinyl that I want to try and put on some discs with stamps, but I'm so worried that it's just going to rip the stamp off, because like I know that the 651 will rip that stamp off if I put that on there. So
yeah, I've heard people just using the contact paper to mask it off. But it depends what you're putting that disc in.
Yeah.
Like, obviously not a hot dip, because that'll dissolve it. But something more gentle. I need
to mix up some dyes and alcohol and paint them on, because that seems to kind of be the path a lot of people are going now, and seems to be working out. So I need to do that too.
You mask the stamps off. What is your preferred way to mask it off?
I mean, it would be glue if I could get it to freaking work, but every one I've done, I did a wild discs, and it ripped 2 wild discs. It ripped the stamp off. I've ripped the stamp off a couple Thought Space. I've ruined some stamps on Castoplast. Like, it just doesn't work for me. And I thought it was the heat. Like, I'd put it on, I'd do the glue bed and put it under heat, and I thought maybe that was it. But I've done 1 or 2 without heat, and they still destroyed the foil. So
that's fascinating. I've only done 2 masking with stencils, and I just used the school Elmer's white glue.
Yeah.
And I haven't had any issues.
Me too. Same. I've done a glue mask in a glue bed, and I've done a glue mask in a Floetrol bed, and I've had bad luck with both ways. So I don't know what my issue is, but there's something that I can't figure out with glue masks. So I just kind of avoid them now.
I feel like I need to do some more testing on that, but I know some stamps are a lot more fragile than others, and others you just can't even get off sometimes.
There are some. The commission I did with the Black Sabbath, it was a G-Star Leopard 3 or something, and he had a stamp from a contest or something that he had won it from or bought it from, and it was so hard to get off.
I've had an issue where that I took the stamp off, but it left a burnt mark. When they were hot stamping it, it was like that light brown burnt mark. I'm like, why isn't this coming off? And I posted, it's like, yeah, it's burnt on. I'm like, son of a...
I haven't had that, but it definitely will rob any luster or shine from the plastic, and kind of, so that kind of sucks. Trying with acetone, at least. I guess if you can get them off with a magic eraser, that's probably best. But
how do you wipe your stamps off?
So far it's been acetone. I actually just did a Falcor, I think that's what it is, from Prodigy, and it ate some of the stamp. It was just a chameleon style, so there's no acetone that ate it off. I don't really know what did. I guess I've heard rumblings that Floetrol does, but sometimes, like, for the most part, it doesn't affect my discs. Why does it do it sometimes? So I'm not really confident that it was Floetrol, but it ate kind of some splotchy bits off the stamp, and so I wiped it, and now it's a ghost stamp, and it looks badass. But I'm worried that once it starts to, kind of blow out or fade, that stamp's not even going to be really that readable. It's just going to be a fuzzy Falcor stamp. So
yeah, well, you know what would solve all your problems? Just wipe all the stamps.
I can't. I like the stamps, even just like a Discmania bar stamp or whatnot, or Discraft bar stamp or whatever they are. They're fine. I like the base stamps. I like the special edition stamps. I like stamps.
Well, that's where me and you differ. Wipe them all. I say that because I do a lot of stencil stuff, and I basically just dip my disc in acetone and wipe that shit off.
I'll wipe factory second stamps. The end of the ones I take off. Some of them are good. Like Loft discs have great. Their stamps. They like don't scrap me, and it's a funny one. I love the MVP factory second stamps. So like some of them look cool, and like I would definitely leave. But the end of the ones, those get wiped for sure.
Do you have any fail stories in your dyeing history so far?
Just that popcorn one was garbage. Just some, I don't know, random ones. Same ones that everybody else has had, really. A disc you thought was going to be, oh, this bed looks pretty cool. You pull it out, and it either didn't take, or the colors are not what you expected, or they did something weird as you set the disc. But just kind of your classic fails. I haven't had anything really crazy.
Haven't had anything crazy yet.
Yeah, yet, I guess.
You're still new, so... So where do you have your dye lab set up?
This is in my basement. It's just like a second living room, and it's kind of where I play video games. We got a table from some friends, and I just started. I used to actually dye on top of an entertainment center, like an IKEA entertainment center. It's just one that I had back when I lived in my previous home, and now it's down here, and just a little section. Super crowded, and then I got this table, so that helped give me a lot more room.
I, for some reason, didn't realize or thought that the location you're at has basements.
Yeah. There's we got basements here.
It's weird to me that people don't have basements. But so I know you're relatively new, but do you have any tips or tricks that you haven't talked about yet that you'd like to give to either beginner dyers or I would say seasoned people?
For mixing up Floetrol, really get the powder to as liquid as you can. If you try to mix up Floetrol and just the dye powder straight, a lot of it will clump. It's really hard to kind of get those clumps to break up and really mix well. And it's hard for me. I don't do it myself the best either. I need to follow my own advice, but that's one thing that I know would save me more trouble if I did. Is ensure that the dye powder is mixed with water thoroughly before I add the Floetrol.
Yeah, I haven't mixed any Floetrol yet, but again, that does make sense. I've only mixed lotion, and I think I just put the powder in with the lotion.
I did it. I might have used some hot water back then, or maybe it was mineral spirits. Or not mineral spirits, denatured alcohol.
Yeah.
I've used that to kind of dissolve the powder before, but I think just hot water is honestly better than the denatured alcohol.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that just any dye that you for disc is water soluble, so that's helps out tremendously to whatever medium, even acetone, lotion, just to have that fully mixed in. So if you had to start disc dyeing today, is there anything that you would do differently knowing what you know now?
I do a lot more research. Last January, I uninstalled all social media on my phone except for Reddit, because I never really used Reddit, and I was like, oh, this can stay. But then I got addicted to Reddit, and there, the disc dyeing there is a wealth of knowledge, and so I'd spend a lot of time on Reddit. Facebook has a lot, although I don't really use Facebook that much. I post my pictures to an account there, but it doesn't get a lot of traffic, and I don't put any work into it. So the Facebook is just kind of a byproduct, but yeah, Reddit. I'd spend a lot of time on Reddit if I started to dye again.
Yeah, you have to be careful with Reddit because, boy, you can get sucked into it. And once you customize it to the subreddits that you like,
it's dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought I was like, oh, I'll remove all social media. I won't do any scrolling for a month. Oh no, I was scrolling. I was power scrolling. Like Reddit is addicting for sure.
I also find it fascinating on the disc dyeing subreddit that some discs get more upvotes than others, and I'm like, why? But whatever.
I mean, that's just the same like selling discs. I'll pull discs and I'll be like, this disc sucks, and it'll sell instantly. And then people leave me a review. I love the disc. It's so great. And I'm like, oh, all right. I guess beauty really is an eye of the beholder. But because there's a lot I do that I don't really like.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me. Like a bunch of other dyers said that. It's like, boy, I really like this disc, but it didn't sell. But this piece of shit, it just flew off the shelf.
Yeah. I've got a couple that I was like, ooh, this is a good one. This will sell. It's been here for a year. Like, what? Come on.
I've been also wondering if it's the mold of the disc that the people like. Like the more popular ones, if those sell faster because of the.
I'm sure it could. And when sorry for cutting you off, but when I started dyeing, like that was my idea. I was like, I'm only going to do destroyers and buzzes. Like I'm only going to do what people want to buy, because I mean it's pretty safe bet if you do a bunch of destroyers and buzzes, you're going to sell a lot of discs. But I just never, I didn't. Then I like my hipster. It's like, no, how about you get the Apollo, get the RPM, get the Viking, get the whatever, like get the discs nobody throws or very little people throw, and then but they turn out great. And the RPM, I always get reposted by RPM discs. I always get reposted by Loft discs. So, it's really cool to see them sharing.
That's awesome. How have those hipster discs been selling for you? I'm just curious.
The RPM ones sell fast, and I don't really know why. They seem to sell fast. Maybe it's just because they turn out so damn good. But the RPMs move. Viking discs don't really sell that quickly. Yaccoon discs don't sell that quickly.
Do you bag any like of the hipster discs?
Mm-mm. The most hipster I think now is Thought Space and Castoplast, and they're not so much hipster anymore. They're starting to become a little more mainstream. I do have I do have Loft. I do have the Boreum, and I just took the silicon out because I got the Truth or Trust. I can't remember which one it is. It's a 5502. So I took my silicon out and put that in. But I do have Loft. Some Loft discs. So I guess I kind of have some hipster stuff.
Yeah, once they get too mainstream, I just don't bag them anymore.
No, my bag's a lot of mainstream. It's a lot of dynamic, a lot of West Side or Trilogy, not specifically dynamic or West Side, but a lot of Trilogy, and starting to become quite a bit of Thought Space. But yeah, I got MVP Axiom. I just made a new friend like last year. He moved from the Raleigh area, North Carolina, to Utah, and we met him on the course, and he only throws MVP Axiom. So his
this friend.
his MVP snobbiness definitely rubbed off on our friends group, because until then the only MVP disc any of us had was a Volt that I found in a used bin. So now we all bag a couple.
I mean, they're good discs.
They are fantastic discs. The ones that I have, I love. The Volt has been the best used bin find I've ever had. It's my go-to skip disc. Like, I absolutely love it.
So, do you have any favorite dyers or dyers that you like their work and get inspiration from?
I mean, there's so many that are so great. The first ones that I remember seeing were Greasy Dyes. There was a guy, I swear, and maybe I'm making it up. I don't know if this is a Mandela effect or if it was true, but the Greasy Dyes was one of the first that I saw on Instagram. And then there was another guy that used to do like tri-fly, but with like an arm. And I can't, and like he had like a big beef theme, like steaks. Like I don't know where he went. He's not. I don't see his posts ever anymore. I don't know what happened to him or her. I don't even know who they were. But they were someone I remember seeing a lot of, and I was like, those are cool. And then Sarge off of YouTube, Sarge's Disc Dyes or Happy Little Dyes. He was probably one of my favorites. Probably one I've been inspired by the most. But like Felon Bomb Dyes, I love kind of the tri-fly stuff he's been doing. I actually bought one of his. Oh, nice. I don't know where it is now, but it was right there. It's an H3 from him, I think, and so those I like his stuff. But there's too many to really to say. Yes. There's so many of us now.
And you feel bad if you forget somebody, but there is a lot of great dyers out there, and I know people are shouting at their screen of the name of the beefy arm, whatever, So if you know what it is, leave a comment.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we both can't remember.
Because yeah, he had the arm tri-fly, and I think he had like a big, I don't know, it was a steak, some type of steak, like some beef theme.
Yeah. Boy, that's going to be bugging me. I'm going to be looking after this.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you're still learning new techniques and dye stuff. Where recently have you been getting that information?
I mean, Lilbot Dyes, his YouTube channel has been a wealth of knowledge lately with the chameleon, and then his kind of like new style that he showed those other two videos of him kind of weaving the cells in. It's just phenomenal. So his stuff's been really influential lately.
So now we're going to get to know you on a personal level. So the first segment that we have is favorite faves. What is your favorite band or song?
Band AC/DC for sure. Like that, I don't even have to think about that one. They're number one. Songs are a little bit different. I can't tell you what my favorite song is. There's 100 of them.
What's your favorite AC/DC song?
Also can't really tell, but like I like the really old stuff. I love their stuff with Bon Scott. I love their stuff with Brian Johnson, but I really like the old stuff. There was a box set I bought back in junior high called the Bonfire box set, and there was a disc that was like kind of unreleased deep cuts and stuff, and it was most of the songs were songs they released and recorded, but they were a little different. And that deep cut CD was so good. It was on repeat I actually put it on like my mini disc player in high school, but it was on repeat.
They are a great band, and I feel like it's a little sacrilegious because when I got that record player for my spin dyes, I also got a record to hold the disc on, and that record is the AC/DC. I can't remember the specific one, but yeah. So there's like dye, and it's all torn up on that record.
No worries. Hey, it's getting used. It's cool.
Yeah. All right. What is your favorite food?
Burritos, Mexican food, probably. I love a good taco. I love a good burrito.
Do you have a favorite restaurant you like to go to in your area?
There's a few. There's one downtown. It was actually, I used to, my wife and I lived in a loft downtown. It was like a block and a half from our loft. It's called Chile Teppan. If anybody's in downtown Salt Lake, check it out. If you search good Mexican in Salt Lake, it's going to come up with Red Iguana. Everyone's going to tell you Red Iguana. They're phenomenal, but Chili Teppan's better. There
you go. So if you're ever in the area, head over there. What is your favorite beverage?
Water. I literally like a nice ice water is my favorite thing. I love a good beer, but I'd just say water.
I love water, and nothing is the best feeling, I don't know if that's proper English, than a nice crisp water on a hot day after or during when you're playing disc golf.
Yeah, that was when I bought my bag. I needed 2 water holders. That was like one thing I needed. So I bought the MVP bag and the whatever, I can't even remember what it's called, but I'll carry a big water bottle. And then if we go play like a bigger course, like if we go play the Fort up in Ogden where they had Worlds last year, like I'll bring 2 water bottles because it's, a lot more walking, a lot more looking for discs. And
so besides disc golf and disc dyeing, what other hobbies do you have?
Snowboarding. I've been snowboarding for 25 years or so, ever since I was in 3rd grade. So that's a big part of my winters here, and we've got the greatest snow on earth. Our license plates say so. So
it must be true. I don't like snowboarding. Full disclosure, I've only done it once or twice, but I don't like my feet being bound together.
Yeah, I can understand that. I don't want my feet to be separate. Like I skied when I was little, and I remember like hating every minute of it because I was 5 or 6, and 5 and 6 year olds will hate almost everything that But I like snowboarding. I got into it. It took me a few years. Like I mainly wanted to snowboard because my friends were doing it. And we had programs with our elementary schools and junior highs where you could get like six weeks, and you'd go get lessons, and you'd get out of school early. And so I did that through school to get out of school early and hang out with friends. And after about 4 or 5 years, it just really kind of clicked and became a major love.
Where do you like to go snowboarding?
Favorite resorts here, hands down best is Powder Mountain. They're up in Ogden also, kind of like by By the fort, really. Not really by it, but in the same neighborhood as far as the state goes. Powder Mountain, they're the best. They cap their season passes and they cap their day passes, so there's only X amount of people on the mountain at all times, and they have like an immense area to ski and ride. They have cats. You can buy a cat pass and ride the cat up the mountain and ski down. You can skin everywhere. Like, they've got a big area and no one's there, so there's always fresh snow.
When does snowboarding season start for you guys?
It's basically in full swing now. We've been getting a lot of storms, which used to be, when I was growing up, was normal. Like, it'd be open. I remember snowboarding like November 20th up at Snowbird, and it being a bottomless day. Like, it was so deep, but that doesn't happen anymore. But we've got a good winter so far this year. It's been firing pretty good, and I think it's supposed to be snowing up in the mountains pretty much all week this week. So
back in my day, I remember when it used to snow all the time. But seriously, I feel like the winters haven't been as wintry the past few years.
We'll get one or two occasionally that'll be nice, and this one's shaping up to be real good, so that's nice.
What do you do for a day job?
I work on a data science team for a company that tells, like, we do e-commerce mainly, like through Amazon. We tell like Procter & Gamble how to sell more and sell better on Amazon. So, and I'm on the data science team.
Have you learned any neat insider tips and tricks?
No, not really. I mean, it's just a lot of numbers, really, basically.
Yeah. Next section that we have. So if you had to pick 3 discs to use for the rest of your life on any course, what would those 3 be?
I've been thinking about this question because I've heard you ask others, but I don't have the greatest answer right now because it changes a little bit. But at this moment right now, it would be my beat-in Escape, my soft Berg, and probably just my putter, my regular. And I putt with the Thought Space Muse. But I picked those. The Escape, my beat-in Escape, it flips up like crazy. I can flip it over. It can hold this high, like I kind of like lock the hyzer in. It's good. It's straight. I can get kind of my max distance with that one. And then the Berg is a cheat code. I don't care. Like, I'm a Berg fanboy for sure. And then the putter, I want my putter to putt.
I feel like a lot of people like the Berg in that they've chosen that for one of their 3 discs, and multiple people have said it is a cheat code. So I never really got into the Berg.
And yeah, it's weird. It definitely is weird in your hand. Like, you either like it or you don't. And I like it. I don't like the K1. I had but I like the soft. I've for whatever reason, my K1 is that Eric Oakley Berg that I showed a little earlier. I only kept it in the bag because it was the prettiest disc I had. And then I lost my old soft. I threw it in a river, and it never got returned. And so I was using the K1 for a while, but I couldn't get into it. And then so I dyed myself a new soft, and now that's back in the bag.
Another next section. I can't find a good segue for this, but Lee Perfect Hole. What has been your favorite course and or hole that you've played so far?
It's definitely course or 2 courses rather. It's out in Moab, Utah, or just outside of Moab, Utah. It's called Base Camp Adventure Lodge. It's this like lodge that this gentleman, as far as I know, his story is he moved from California 30 so years ago or so. I don't know. Bought this. I assume it was built. It's on kind of the bank of the Colorado River in the middle of the desert. And he rents it out. It's kind of like a little bed and breakfast, and then he lets people camp. There's 1 or 2 Navajo hogans that you can stay the night in if you wanted to. And then he has 2 18-hole courses that play on the Red Rock and through the sands. And it's spectacular.
That's awesome. I really want to play out in that area because I feel like the terrain, 1, looks very beautiful. 2, and it's very, I feel like, different than where I'm from in Wisconsin. So
yeah, I mean, I've never been to Wisconsin, but as far as I would think, like, your disc golf is a lot of tall trees and just heavy wooded areas. We don't really have that. The fort kind of plays like that, but we don't have a lot of those like kind of classic wooded courses.
Is a lot of your courses, I'm just trying to think of the ground it's on. Is it like sandy gravel type stuff, rocky, or?
No, I mean, like in the valley here, one of them's in a big mixed use park that has a big baseball diamond and huge trails. The other one used to be a disc golf park, then it was a par 3 golf course, or vice versa, and then they tore out the disc golf too, and now it's disc golf again, and has been for as far as I can remember. And then another, the Creekside, the busier one, is another kind of mixed use park, but really it's just used for disc golf. I mean, they have a playground. There's some kids there. It's in the winter. It's the sledding park. There's a big pavilion at the top of a round hill, and so in the winter that was the sledding park when I was a kid.
I guess one of the reasons why I asked that is I'm curious to see on the more rocky, sandy gravel terrain how much more a disc gets beat in. But I was just curious.
So I don't really know. I haven't kept track of like any discs as they weather and age, but it would I feel like it would almost certainly season them a little more quickly. And before we went to Moab this summer to play that course, I was reading a lot, and people, like, I kept seeing comments like, bring discs you don't care about because they're going to be destroyed. But we threw all of our, like, there's 4 or 5 of us, we threw our normal bags and no one had any like issues with any discs. So
and then, another question that I wanted to ask you, since you've been playing for so long, do you have some of your older discs?
Yeah, so the first couple discs I bought at Hammond Toys, because it was the only place I had ever seen discs being sold. And I bought this T-Bone. It's from Quest Technologies. It has a dimpled rim in the back. And I bought this, the Turbo Putt, that is also from Quest Technologies, and a Polecat. And I have the Polecat too somewhere, just a DX Polecat. Those are the 3 first discs I ever bought. And I still have 2 of them. I don't know where the Turbo Putt is, but I don't know why I lost it. Like I had 2 of them at one point, so I don't know where the hell those went. But I got 2 of my first 3 discs I ever bought still.
That's awesome. And speaking of that, where do you currently buy your discs? Either for ones that you throw or the ones that you dye?
For dyeing, I try and find whatever kind of the best deal online, really. Sometimes it's Infinite. And Infinite's up in Logan here in Utah, so I can usually get discs from them in a day or 2 sometimes. If I catch them on the right cycle, I can get stuff quick. So Infinite's a nice one. Par Plastics is great. I've been buying a lot of stuff from Par Plastics. I think I've used 1010 in the past. I've used a couple. I don't know. I've used several different, but the main ones are usually going to be Infinite or Par Plastics, I think.
Gotcha. Nice. Dream date. If you had to pick a pro disc golfer to play around with and hang out with, who would it be and why?
So I was also thinking of this one because I was like, I got to be prepared, but I can't think of just one. So I was going to give you my card. My dream card to go play with would be, to fill out the cards, would be myself, Matty O, Yuli, and Barsby. And I think that would just be a pretty fun card to be on and be around.
So what's the reasoning for picking those 3?
Barsby's just, rock and roll. It's cool. Yuli, I like Yuli when he, his videos that he does. He seems like a nice guy, and he's funny. And Mattio's a character. Like, it'd be, I think with Yuli and Mattio, it'd be a lot of laughs. And Barsby's funny too, but I think it'd just be a good card.
Awesome. That's a great answer. No one has said a card. So good for you to think outside the box because you can't pick one. Nice. All right. Well, insightful information and answers, and we got to know Braden a little bit better. So he will be raffling off one of his amazing dye discs, and you can get this disc for $1. Why wouldn't you do that? So 100% of the proceeds will go to Braden, and you can find the raffle on dyersguild.co. The raffle will go live when this podcast is launched and will last for 2 weeks. Super excited. If you want to help support him in his dyeing journey, please do that because, like I said, 100% of the proceeds go to him, and I really do feel like disc dyers are undervaluing their artwork. So please go support him. Where can people find your work if they want to see your work and or buy it?
Mainly Instagram is where you're going to find what I post and share. I do post to Facebook, although I don't use Facebook. I really don't use Facebook. So Instagram's the best place to see kind of what I've done, what's for sale. I have an Etsy shop and a discdyeing.com shop. Both of those links are in my bio on Instagram.
And what is your Instagram handle / name?
It is BscriBBles Dyes. So just I don't know if I have an underscore between them, but just BscriBBles, one word.
So please go check out his work, like his page, go like his Facebook page. And a question I forgot to ask is, how did you come up with your dye name?
The dye name is BscriBBles. So the B is obviously Braden, B for Braden. Scribbles came from, I was working at Discount Tire at the time, and one of my good friends who's actually, I play with him the most, like on UDisc, him and I have the most scored rounds together. So we stayed friends for a while after we were working. This was, 15 years ago or so. When we were working at Discount Tire, when you're pulling a car out, the crew chief or whatever they called him would sign off on like the invoice, like, yeah, this was done. So when I would sign, it would just be kind of a B and then just a bunch of scribble. So my buddy Chris said, like, I'm just gonna start calling you BscriBBles or BscriBBles, and so like that name kind of stuck. And then when I was starting to dye discs, I was like, what should I do? I was like, oh, BscriBBles works. It's
always interesting to hear the backstory of people's names. It sounds like a rapper name almost. BscriBBles.
It kind of does. It definitely does. Like it's. So I've used it. I've used it for the last 12 or 15 years. So
that's awesome. Well, again, I greatly appreciate you taking time out of your day to be on this podcast. I know you have a long dye journey ahead of you, and the work that I've seen so far is very good. So please keep up the great work. And again, thank you for being on.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. This is great.
All right. So until next time, we'll talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye.